to educate them a bit on the law. Why are we doing this or that? Why should we not pursue this avenue or another course of action, and what the law is behind it? And sometimes, what a strategy may be based on just, my experience and what I know about the law. And so I like to give advice and then make decisions together with the client. So I think that's something that, like I said, I'm proud to do. And, I think that it's something that my clients are happy with.
I just think you live and breathe family law.
Like I said, my cell phone's on.
Every time she comes in, you look like you've had a day. But listen, it's a very emotional thing when family law. But we love having you on the show.
Oh, I really
and like I said, next month it's going to be on a Thursday, and we will let you know during the week what day Tina's going to be on. Thanks again. Do you ever provide your phone number and your website one more time?
Sure. The phone number is 561-544-6861, and the website is www.lewartlaw.com.
And if you just came in the middle of the show, you can actually go back and watch past shows, today's show, on her website. We will be back in about 2 minutes with our next guest, Gil Belu.
Lewert Law Offices is proud to be the family law expert on the Ask the Expert show. Attorney Tina Lewert is a board-certified specialist in marital and family law. Attorney Lewert is committed to obtaining the best resolution for your divorce or other family law case by consistently providing skilled representation, expert legal advice, and personal attention. Attorney Lewert has developed an excellent reputation for providing effective divorce and family law representation in Boca Raton and the surrounding communities. Lewert Law Offices offers legal advice and representation in a wide range of family law matters, including divorce, child custody, time sharing and visitation, child support, alimony, complex asset distribution, post-judgment modifications, and paternity actions. For expert representation in all aspects of divorce and family law, contact Attorney Tina Lewert today at 561-544-6861 or visit www.lewartlaw.com. When was the last time your will was reviewed, or do you even have one? Do you know that without a will, the government decides how your property is distributed upon your death? Did you know that without proper estate planning, your children would receive every penny of their inheritance on their 18th birthday to use or lose without any guidance? The law offices of Ginsberg Schulman provide their clients with comprehensive estate planning, probate and trust administration, guardianship, business planning, and wealth preservation. They believe that planning for the future should not be left until the future. Whether you are young, middle-aged, or in retirement, your life is always changing. Comprehensive estate planning can protect you and your loved ones from the unexpected. When you experience a significant life cycle event or life change, it is a good time to have your estate planning reviewed. Contact their office today at 954-839-8705.
Hey, we are back. I don't know if I've mentioned this yet to you, but we have a chance to go to a much better day and time. So next month, we are moving our show to Thursdays from 5 to 6. So when you're out there just going up against that traffic, you can listen to us all the way home. Today, we have a new guest on the show with us today. We get so many emails from you listeners asking us, how about estate planning? And it's just perfect for our audience because of our age demographics, our income demographics, but we've never had an opening. So we finally had an opening, and we found an incredible law firm. They cover all of Broward, all of Palm Beach County. The name of the firm is Ginsberg Schulman Attorneys at Law, and we have one of the senior principals, David Schulman. Hi, David.
Hi, thank you for having me.
This is a little bit different. You got all the spotlights now, and it's a little bit different than just sitting in an office and sitting down with a client.
A little bit, but I'm used to it. We go to court sometimes, and we give a lot of presentations, so I'm used to talking, and it's something I'm passionate about, so I like talking about it.
Passion goes a long way here. So first of all, tell us about your firm.
Well, we are we're a boutique firm.
Okay.
Think of a boutique in a store that only focuses on one thing and does it very, very well. We're not going to be like, we're not Walmart. We're not a big department store. We're a boutique where we only focus on estate planning, probate, guardianship, asset protection, tax, and those related matters.
No criminal, no family
no
law,
criminal,
no PI.
No PI.
You strictly concentrate in one area.
Refer all those out. Or I know a lot of people. I'm happy to give you a recommendation, but we don't. We want to do what we're good at.
Okay. How long has the firm been around?
Well, the firm itself has been around probably about 3 years.
Okay.
However, each one of us has more than 15 years of experience. I have over 15 years experience. My partner has over 20 years experience. So we've each been with large law firms. I worked for the government I worked for the IRS in Washington D.C. for 7 years, and my partner worked for both a large accounting firm and a large law firm. I worked for a large law firm. We were both solos, and 3 years ago we merged our firms to form.
Beautiful. I bet you like it much better now.
It's nice having a partner, but I like
more one-on-one now with your clients too, isn't it?
Well, as opposed to a large law firm, absolutely.
Okay.
And we mesh very well together.
So tell me again all the different areas that your firm covers.
And they're all interrelated. It's estate planning, and trust and estate and probate administration, guardianship, elder law, and tax.
Okay.
And we don't necessarily do tax returns, but we do tax as it generally relates to estate planning and guardianship matters.
Estate planning is so important. If you don't take care of business now, especially with probate, wow, it could sit there forever in probate.
It could sit there for a very long time, and it could be very expensive. Attorneys make a lot more money on the back end, on the probate side, especially when people don't do things correctly, than we do on the planning side. But I'd much rather plan and do it correctly the first time and get it done with than have to deal with a situation that's a total mess.
How do you deal with all the fighting that probably goes on between the family when things aren't done properly?
It's difficult, and you just have to step back. You can't represent everyone. Often you'll represent one side of the family or one particular client, and someone who's disinherited or isn't happy with what they're getting will get their own lawyers. It'll be very expensive and painful litigation when if the person just had done it right to begin with,
exactly,
he could have saved his family all the time.
That's what this show is going to be about. I'm sure you have so many war stories of people who didn't do things right up front. Can you share any with us? No names, just maybe someone who just did not take care of their business. They kept putting it off, and then sometimes death rolls around and things were not done in order.
Well, you often see a lot of these stories in the news too. A lot of times with celebrities. Basically, if you don't do your own estate planning, if you don't do documents to say where you want the property to go, the government has rules that do it for you. Now, in the olden days, everyone's married someone, stayed married to that person forever, had a couple of kids with that person, and that was it. And then it was simpler. But today, people have children, and they get divorced, they have more children.
Remarried, they're
remarried,
children.
And they each bring children with them, and they'll have children together. It's now they'll have children in marriage, without marriage. And then if you don't say where you want your property to go to, what's going to happen is that the state decides for you how much your spouse gets, how much your children get, and it may not necessarily be what you want and in the amounts you want.
Well, I want to start off with, and we've kind of touched on this already, just basically, what is estate planning?
Estate planning, there's two aspects to it. It's planning on what's going to happen to your property after you pass away, and also planning for your own incapacity. And there's a lot of factors to that. It's not just as simple as give $50,000 or give the car to Bob or to Donna. It's really, you got to think about how are they going to get it, and are they responsible enough for it? And of course, if you have young children, you also have to plan for if you pass away and who's going to be the guardian of your children, and who's going to manage their assets.
When it comes to, you just mentioned before, you do elder law.
Correct.
What does that mean, elder law?
Elder law.
I mean, I know the age
right.
demographics, but what does that mean?
No, we're in South Florida. Obviously, there's a large elder senior community here. Elder law is a couple of things. One, it has all the estate planning aspects into it, but also it's planning for your eventual incapacity. That if you're no longer able to take care of yourself, who's going to take care of you for you? Who's going to manage your assets? Who's going to make healthcare decisions for you? And also, if you need to go into a nursing home, there's Medicaid planning. Sometimes if you need to get on Medicaid because you're going into a nursing homes can cost $10,000 a month.
Sure.
So in order to be only certain people, a certain amount of assets can qualify to be on Medicaid. So we help people qualify to get onto Medicaid, both for short-term planning and long-term planning, and not eviscerate all of their assets.
Paperwork must be astronomical if it's the government.
It certainly is.
So now let's talk about essential documents that every person or family needs. Let's start off there.
So every person, no matter how old you are or how rich or poor you are, needs some certain essential documents. The first is a last will and testament. That's the basic. When I die, this is where my property goes. This is who gets it. This is who's my personal representative, which in other states is called an executor. It's who's going to manage the affairs of your estate. And this is who's going to be the guardian of my minor children. That's what the will says.
Are there some guidelines to choosing who the executor is going to be?
There's some rules. In Florida, it has to be either a relative or a Florida resident. So your friend who lives in Michigan can't do it for you.
Okay.
But
I want to go to another step, though. When I'm choosing who the executor should be, what should I think about?
You got to think about who's responsible enough to do the job correctly. Often they're going to hire an attorney. They're going to hire a probate attorney like me to help them with the process. And sometimes the probate attorney does almost all the work, and sometimes the executor, the personal representative, does almost all the work. So you need to think of someone who's going to be responsible enough to be able to take the job seriously. And the job is to gather all the assets, identify what they are, to marshal the assets, to see what the debts are of the estate, see if the person owed any money, what the creditors are, to pay the creditors, and then distribute out the property. It's a big job.
So they might have a relative who they don't get along with real well. That would not make a good executor.
Probably not.
Okay.
Especially if they're not very responsible.
Okay. So there's a lot of thinking that goes into this, that when you sit down with them, you probably try maybe help them to decide.
Right. And there are, for more wealthy people, there are professional executors. There are trust companies and banks and other attorneys who can serve as executor for a fee, of course.
Sure.
But if it's for a larger estate, it's really worth it to hire someone who's professional to do it for you.
What is there an age that someone should start looking at estate planning?
I'd say it's any age is possible.
Okay.
If you're 18, you'll still need basic documents. You still need to say who's going to make decisions for you if you're incapacitated, who's going to make healthcare decisions for you. A lot of 18-year-olds have property. They may want to say where it goes to. If they're not married and they don't have kids, it would automatically go to their parents. If maybe that's what they want, maybe they don't want that. If they want it to go somewhere else. If you're in your 20s and you just got married, you need to think about your spouse. If you have young children, there's really there's different types of estate planning, and it's certainly a lot more simple for someone who's younger than it is for someone who is older and has multiple children and larger assets. But everyone needs to have at least some basic documents in place.
What about wills? I mean, when should a person start looking into putting their will together?
As soon as any adult needs a will. If you have property, if you have a house, if you have a car, if you have a bank account, then that's property that can be distributed through your will.
Now, we're talking about wills. Tell me the difference between a will, a living will, and a trust.
Well, a will is what you think it is. A will is where you say where you want your property to go to after you die. A trust. Let's put living will aside for a second, because that's something totally separate.
And I want to say one thing. We never know about tomorrow. I don't care what age you are. I just found out a friend of mine, 38 years old, had a heart attack. Now, I'm sure he was going, I don't need a will yet, or, I don't need to look at estate planning. I'm going to be around for a long time. It doesn't work that way, does it?
No, all four of my grandparents lived into their 90s. My mother died at 42. So
you've got to start planning now.
My mother had cancer. She died when she was 42.
Wow.
And I was 15, and my grandparents all lived into their 90s.
So you never know. That's why
you really never know.
Don't put this off.
And especially if you drive on I-95 in South Florida, you really don't know when you can take your life in your hands every time you get on the road.
I know. So we're going to get into wills, and we still have a few minutes before we go to break. Let's talk about wills first.
So the will is the basic document that says where your property goes to upon your death. Now, a trust or a living trust or a revocable living trust.
Revocable, that's what I was trying to think of before.
A revocable living trust. If you have a larger estate, if you have more assets or more complicated, the purpose of the revocable living trust is to avoid probate.
Okay. So, and you do want to avoid probate?
Generally, you do. There's sometimes you want to have a small probate to run it for creditor purposes, but you want to avoid it as much as possible. That's true. So what you would do is you set up a revocable living trust. And then when you transfer, it'll transfer all of your property into the trust. So the trust owns the property.
Okay.
So when you die, as opposed to you owning the property, the trust owns the property. And because you didn't own it and the trust owned it, it doesn't have to go through probate.
Okay.
That's usually paired
tax benefits at all?
Not necessarily any tax benefits. Just then, that's usually paired with what's known as a pour-over will, which any property you did not transfer into the trust will pour over into the trust.
So the main purpose of the revocable living trust is to keep it from going into probate.
Correct.
Okay.
And if you're alive and become incapacitated, to avoid a guardianship.
Okay. Beautiful. Now, what is just a common trust?
A trust is think of a bucket.
Okay.
Think of a large bucket that with a lock on it, and on the lock there's a book of rules. While you're alive, you can put anything into the bucket. You can take anything out of the bucket. Trust is the bucket.
Okay.
When you pass away, the lock and the bucket closes. So now there's a lock on the bucket. The bucket's closed, and there's a key. And the key is what the rules say, and the rules of distribution for the trust is. And there's a trustee who you appoint who can make distributions from the trust.
So trustee has the key.
The trustee has the key. Absolutely.
Okay.
And the trust can distribute. It can go all to my wife. It can say give money, pay the income to my children until they reach the age of 35, pay their tuition, pay for their housing and their rent, but don't let them take any other money to blow it. And then when they're 35 or 40, then they can take all the money.
Gotcha.
The purpose of the trust is to protect not necessarily yourself, but protect your loved ones from their potential creditors and from themselves.
Wow. You make this sound so easy. I love the way you first of all, you definitely tell you have a passion for this. We're going to go to break, and we come back. I've got so many. I want to talk a little bit about guardianship, too.
All right.
We'll be right back.
When was the last time your will was reviewed, or do you even have one? Do you know that without a will, the government decides how your property is distributed upon your death? Did you know that without proper estate planning, your children would receive every penny of their inheritance on their 18th birthday to use or lose without any guidance? The law offices of Ginsberg Schulman provide their clients with comprehensive estate planning, probate and trust administration, guardianship, business planning, and wealth preservation. They believe that planning for the future should not be left until the future. Whether you are young, middle-aged, or in retirement, your life is always changing. Comprehensive estate planning can protect you and your loved ones from the unexpected. When you experience a significant life cycle event or life change, it is a good time to have your estate planning reviewed. Contact their office today at 954-839-8705.
And we're back. I'm here with attorney Dave Schulman. He's with the law firm of Ginsberg Schulman, attorneys at law. They practice, and I can say this, they specialize in estate planning, wills and estate, because you're board certified.
I am.
Which is a big thing.
It is. Less than 5% of lawyers are board certified in any area. And I'm board certified in wills, trusts, and estates. My partner is board certified in elder law.
Great. So we can really call you an expert.
Absolutely.
And I like the fact that there aren't very many that are certified. And we have another attorney with us who's a certified. You go to a lot of extra to get that title of certified.
It's really difficult. You have to be eligible to even apply. And then there's a long application process. You have to have a lot of CLEs, legal education requirements. Plus, there's a very difficult test that has a very low passage rate.
Okay, so give everybody your phone number first of all,
Our phone number is 954-990-0896.
and your website, which is beautiful, by the way.
Is www.ginsberg, Ginsberg, Schulman, SHULMAN.com. No C in Schulman.
I kept wanting to put that C in there. So tell me the kind of cases you handle when it comes to guardianship.
When we talk about guardianship, we're talking about different things. And my partner is the expert in guardianship. She does
so
almost
we'll wait for her then.
All right, I can talk about it a little bit. A guardianship is when the way we do it is what we really focus on is when a person becomes incapacitated, an elderly person through senile dementia or other types of reasons and are unable to care for their person or property. If they don't have estate planning done for them, then we need a guardianship. If they didn't have a power of attorney or healthcare surrogate, then we need to set up a guardianship, which is a court-ordered process in which a guardian is appointed in order to manage their funds and make healthcare decisions for them. Unfortunately, it's a very expensive process.
We learned that.
And what we've seen sometimes, sadly, is a lot of time they're being financially exploited, either by a caretaker or sadly by a member of their own family. And there's usually the good kid and the bad kid, and sometimes we need to go in to prevent the bad kid from taking all the money.
Because we learned ourselves when you have an 18-year-old that has autism, that the state then owns him, basically, because they now control how she is raised, which is really a strange feeling. And there's a lot of work involved, too, to get the guardianship.
There is.
And to continue being a guardian.
And we try to do planning to avoid guardianship. If there's proper planning, then it can hopefully, between a power of attorney and a healthcare surrogate and a trust, we can hopefully avoid the guardianship.
That is big news because we had to go through so much, and we continue every year because
you got to file
fingerprints. There's all kinds of things.
You've got to do it every year, but a court is always looking for a less restrictive alternative to a guardianship.
We just got a text. Someone wanted to know, why would you not want to leave property to your children, both minors and adults, outright?
Well, here's what happens. Do you know any 18-year-old boys?
I do, that are not real responsible.
Now, if you're an 18-year-old boy, let's say both your parents died when you were 14, and on your 18th birthday, you're given a check for $1 million.
Wow.
What's going to happen? By the 19th birthday, it's not going to be there anymore. He's going to blow it. He's going to go buy a Ferrari. He's going to gamble. He's going to drink. He's going to meet some girls. Whatever happens, it's not going to be there. And even 20, 25, people take longer. It takes a long time to become mature and responsible and know how to manage money. So if you leave the property to them in trust and have a trustee appointed, then they can dole it out as necessary. They can pay for their education. They can pay for their tuition. They can give them monthly stipends. And as long as the property is in the trust, it's protected both from the beneficiary, from their own silly, immature decisions.
Can they fight that? I mean, if this 14-year-old kid, his parents died, left him all this money. I mean, I know what's going to happen with it. In a year, you're right. I see people who are in their 40s and 50s who win the lottery who go through it.
Or who receive inheritance who blow through it. And,
so can they fight this, though?
Not if it's properly drafted, which we do our best to do.
Right.
A properly drafted trust cannot be fought, and there'll be a trustee. And the kid will realize, as he gets older, it's really for their own benefit. That it's not. No one else is taking the money. It's protecting it for them, so they'll have it in the future, and they don't blow it on stupid things.
Gotcha. Let's give everybody your phone number again. They like to call your office, sit down with you. Now, can they sit down? Is it a free consultation, or how does it work?
Generally, we charge for consultations, but if someone hires us, we waive the consultation fee. We roll it into the fee.
Very good. And listen, if you're not happy with your attorney, there's no reason for you to stay, okay? And sometimes it's better to get a second opinion, too.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you get a lot of those also.
I'm happy to review other documents.
Okay, so now, can we talk about gift tax now? Explain gift tax to everybody.
Well, the gift tax and the estate tax are really a unified tax that work together. For many, many years, up until 2000, a person can only have $600,000 in their names before they die. before the estate tax kicked in, or or they can give away only $600,000. Today, the gift and estate tax exemption, it is the amount that you can die with or give away, is $5.3 million. It's changing January 1st. I think it's going up to 5.4 something. So that's
going up.
It goes up. It's automatically goes up by inflation every year. So the gift tax is really not relevant to that many people because it's $5.3 million a person. It's $10 million a couple. So people don't so they used to have to worry about the gift tax, but now they don't have to worry about it as much.
I wouldn't think so.
However, there are people. I have clients with significant assets, and I specialize in very high, in all ends. So I can certainly handle high net worth clients. And if you do have that amount and you are concerned about the gift tax, I'm someone I can work with you and I can help out in that.
Okay, I want to get back to elder law because, like you said, the demographics down here, a little bit older down here. Why do they call it elder law?
It's both elder and...
Is it because it just concentrates on people maybe over 60 years old?
Well, generally, it's people who are older who begin to experience mental incapacity and senile dementia. So it's really elder and disability.
Okay.
So it's planning for we want to be able to have as much money to last us for the rest of our lives. So to take care of us for our health wise, so if we have to go into a nursing home or assisted living facility, there's a lot of work involved in planning to make sure that those assets are there, and when someone can no longer make decisions for themselves, to pay all their monthly bills, to make all their healthcare decisions for them, to qualify with them to get on Medicaid, to work on their Medicare and Social Security. It's a lot of work, and especially for people who are incapacitated.
If the government's involved, there's a lot of work.
Absolutely.
A lot of paperwork. Tell me something. Now, if I always like to come, when we start coming to the end of the show, tell people, why should I hire you? Why is your firm different from other firms out there?
Well, like we said earlier, I'm board certified in estate planning. There's
makes you an expert.
I'm allowed to say I'm an expert and a specialist. I think there are only 400 or 500 attorneys out of 100,000 in Florida who are board certified in estate planning.
Wow,
amazing. I also have a master's in law. I have an LLM from the University of Miami in estate planning. And what makes me most different is I have a big tax background. I worked for the IRS in Washington, D.C. for 7 years. So I've seen it from all sides. I've seen it from the government side, from a big firm side, and now from a small firm side. So I really have a different type of experience, I think, that most people do.
And tell us about your partner.
My partner, Jill Ginsburg, she's phenomenal. She's a CPA. She's worked for big 5 accounting firms. She's worked for large law firms. She does more of when someone's really incapacitated and they need a guardianship, especially when they're being exploited. That's her specialties. And when an elderly person is being exploited by a caretaker or by a relative, she's great at going in and getting it stopped and getting an independent person appointed to take care of the person who's being exploited.
I just read in the paper the other day, a home care company talk about exploiting. They stole something like $80,000 from this lady that had no idea what was going on. That's terrible. It's unbelievable. Again, you have an office in Fort Lauderdale, downtown Fort Lauderdale.
Our main office is in downtown Fort Lauderdale at 401 East Los Olas, which is in the Bank of America building. We also have another office by appointment in Boca, in One Boca Place at 2255 Glades Road. So if they're in West Palm Beach and they'd rather come to Boca, they can call you and make an appointment. Absolutely. Okay. We have an office in Boca. It's in One Boca Place, right off of Glades Road. We have an office there, and our main office is in Fort Lauderdale. Okay. So it's your downtown. So it is, listen, I think downtown Fort Lauderdale is so easy to get in and get out. I mean, I've been to a lot of cities where there's and it's the biggest headache. Now, do you have parking close by? There's street parking, and there's also a parking garage in the building, which we validate. So it's right in the building. It's in the back of the building. It's attached. We're happy to validate. There's plenty of parking. Beautiful. Did this not go by fast? This was really fast. You did a great job. This is your first show. Oh, thank you very much. And Dave's going to be back with us again next month. Give everybody your phone number one more time. 954-990-0896 or GinsburgSchulman.com on the web. And remember, starting next month, we're going to move to Thursdays from 5 to 6 so you can drive home with us.
Everybody have a wonderful week. Peace and love. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert Show with Steve O and Rene. Tune in every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. while some of the top local experts in their field from Broward and Palm Beach counties educate you in the areas of law, health, financial, and home improvement. You can also call our offices at 888-574-6999 to become an expert on our show. The opinions expressed on the preceding